Hi, I'm Denise Brown. Welcome to Predators. The stories are true, the victims are real. What you learn could save your life. Each year, over 1.5 million people are stalked, and it's not just happening to the rich and famous. If you've ever received ongoing unwanted phone calls, letters, visits, or emails, you have been stalked. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, there may be as many as 100,000 recent victims of cyberstalking, many of them children. Many pedophiles use the internet as a way to lure kids into meetings where they are abused or abducted. One woman who became a crusader against this horrific trend is Julie Posey.
What I do is I sign on to the internet and I create a profile of a 13-year-old girl, and I don't put anything in that profile except that I'm 13 and I live either Colorado or Kansas or wherever. And I don't say anything to anybody. I let them contact me, and within the first 3 minutes I'll have somewhere between 20 and 40 instant messages, and these people aren't saying, "Hi, how are you?" They're wanting to know, "Are you home alone? Can I call you? What are you wearing?" And it just gets into very sexually explicit dialogue from that point on. There's a phase that they go through. The first thing that happens is it's kind of what I call the get to know you phase, and they size up the family dynamics. They find out, are you living with a mother, a father, both? How does that work? What hours does your mom work? Do you have any brothers or sisters? Just, kind of trying to find out what all's going on. And then it moves to the seduction phase, and that's when they introduce sexually explicit talk. They might send pornography, and it might even be child pornography. And they do that in order to desensitize the child. They tell the child, all kids are doing this stuff. Why aren't you? You don't want to be left behind. Do you want to see what all these kids are doing? And then they'll send child pornography. And in those pictures, the kids might be smiling. So it appears that they're happy to be there, but they're not. And then the introduction to secrecy. They find out just how this kid can keep a secret. You're not going to tell your mom, are you? The next thing that happens is he wants a picture, then he wants a phone call, and then he wants the face-to-face meeting. And when he arranges that face-to-face meeting, he has already, by the time he meets the kid, he has already rented a hotel room, he's already purchased a digital camera, and plans on sexually exploiting that child. During the course of the chat, I'm collecting evidence of their intent. They'll say, "I want to meet you at a motel." Well, why? And then they go on into explaining exactly what they're going to do. There's no doubt whatsoever in my mind what they're going to do. You have to let these guys bring up the subject of sex. I don't want to leave any room for entrapment. I want to let them bring up the subject of sex, let them bring up the subject of meeting, and although I agree to that, I don't get wrapped up in it. I've been involved with the arrest and conviction of 23 cases that I've done myself, where I've gone into the chat room and followed it all the way up to arrest or a court or however far it went. And then I've assisted the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office in Golden, Colorado with about 68 of their cases. One of the things parents can do is keep the computer in a common area of the home and not in the child's bedroom. And monitor your phone bill. If you see any strange phone numbers on your phone bill, talk to your children, find out who they're calling. It would be almost impossible to monitor your kids 24 hours a day, but there is software that can help you. SpectraSoft is an example of a product that will help you. It takes screenshots every few seconds of your child's online activity and captures them onto your computer so that you can view those and find out what your child is involved in. I'm not getting paid a dime for it. My sole motivation is I just don't want to see any kid have to go through some of the things that I went through. No child deserves to be sexually assaulted, and if I can protect just one kid, I feel like I've made a difference.
When Predators returns, we'll go online to trap a real-life cyberstalker. Dr. Eric Hickey helps train prosecuting attorneys from all over the country on how cyberstalking works. With him is Chris Malinowski, former head of the Computer Crimes Division in New York City.
So what's going on here, Chris?
What's going on here is I've got some guy talking to me on IRC, and he thinks that I happen to be a 13-year-old girl somewhere in Connecticut. And he comes on and he's asking me, "Hi, how are you?" And of course being polite, tell him I'm fine, how are you? And he says, "Do you like older men?" He kind of gets into this right away. So I ask, naturally, how old? And the response is 50. So it looks like we have somebody that, at least from my screen name on this IRC channel, he might think that I'm reasonably a 13-year-old kid. And they also want to know eventually, how do you look? What do you look like? You give them a general description, and sometimes they'll offer to trade pictures. Right now he's asking me if I'm interested in real-life fun or just chatting online. So I'm trying to stay in character of a 13-year-old kid, and a lot of them are confused, which is why a lot of them wind up in trouble in the first place, I guess. But I'm saying I'm just starting high school next year. I don't know if I want to have fun online. Let's see what he says next, what he has to say to that.
Okay.
Starts talking about calling me, and I'm trying to tell him that I'm in my mom's office. And he's saying, "Too bad." And if you notice, right now he's asking me, am I interested? So needless to say, I'm going to ask him, in what? What am I interested in? And let's see what he responds with. Meeting me. I'm asking him for what? Oh, he's telling me whatever I'd want to do. So, wait a minute. He just came back and said he wants to maybe hug.
Yeah.
Now he's talking about kissing. Now he's going into the sex part.
This is pretty typical.
Yeah, and he's being very explicit. He's using explicit words there.
So in this short amount of time that you've gotten online, a parent would never know that their child is on the internet talking to some adult male.
That's correct. And over here, if you notice, he just suggested that we engage in a nice little sexual act of some nature. And as a matter of fact, he just became much more explicit.
Yes.
And he actually suggested that we engage in an illegal activity.
All right, Chris, we've got his name, we've got his phone number. What are we going to do now?
Well, Eric, I think at this point in time, what we really should do is just contact the local police or task force and let them take it from there. They might have an idea who this guy is.
Great.
When Predators returns, we'll see how a stranger has made one woman live in constant fear for her life. Andrea's story begins one day when she receives an anonymous note that says, "I think you're pretty." She assumes it's from the paper boy with an innocent, harmless crush. In a few days, another note arrives, and Andrea, thinking it's a game, decides to leave a friendly, "Have a nice day" note for the boy. More notes begin arriving almost daily with Andrea's newspapers. But the contents of these notes suddenly take on a more intimate tone. When she gets a note that says, "You look great in that short skirt yesterday," Andrea finds herself becoming increasingly uncomfortable with the game. Then the first of several gifts show up. A teddy bear with a note that says, "Teddy wants to sleep on your pillow." Andrea decides the game has gone too far.
Hey! Hey, Billy! Hi, can you come here? I need to talk to you. You gotta stop writing me these little notes.
What notes?
They're not funny anymore, Billy.
I didn't write you any notes. Look, I've got to go. I'm late for my route.